Castellum Inc., or CTM stock, is a little known company in defense tech that hasn't been getting a lot of hype, hasn't been getting a lot of articles, which is good because we're not looking to find hype stocks. We're here to uncover value driven, intrinsically valuable companies that will attract institutions throughout time and build their market caps steadily but surely, if not maybe a little bit faster than we'd expect because those institutions can move the stock, and that is CTM. So when we're doing analysis of companies, we break it down into what we call the MAP method. It goes into this three-step method. M is going to be the market, A is going to be the analysis, and then P is going to be the plan for profit. So we're going to jump in with the market. CTM stock is, you can see where it's at. It's had some surgences recently from about 13 cents up to as high as $2.83. That was an institutional move. We saw some buying, some selling. This was right before the market corrected with the greater market essentially into you know April and May here. So we saw this market correction kind of play into the U.S. government. Most defense stocks saw some corrections during that time, and then we see them start to rally back up. And overall, they've been holding above this 200-day moving average, and we have positions. We've been trading them quite often for the short term, from about 80 cents to at one point $1.60 to even having long-term positions that we're holding around an 87-cent average. Now, right now, they're at exactly $1 a share. So the first thing we want to do is look at the market. When it comes to a lot of videos we've done on CTM, we found that not a lot of hype, not a lot of people are looking at this company, which is fine. And when we look at them from a defense perspective, they're in the defense market. Now, the U.S. is investing more in defense, and Castellum Inc. processes large amounts of data for the U.S. government. You can see what they're focusing on here is specifically mission critical systems, services, cybersecurity. They're working in data analytics, even electronic warfare, systems engineering, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. A little bit of 5G technologies. We've seen some articles there. Model-based systems engineering, program management. So they are kind of like a tech company for the U.S. government or federal customers. And so, as you can see, they are pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of flashy stuff on their website. They do have an overview of some of their news recently, what they do, what they're building. They're working on technology, for example, for naval air systems. That was a $100 million contract. So that's kind of getting into the news, right? But just to take a step back, the defense market is growing pretty significantly, and it has been getting more momentum, especially after some of the policies and bills that have been coming out in the administration right now. So when it comes to the markets, we see that. The second piece of the market is the real world usage. We have seen real world usage in what they're doing as far as the contracts, but as far as seeing them firsthand and really seeing their tech in front of us, we haven't been able to do that. So they kind of come up short as far as seeing their tech firsthand. But then we get into the analysis, and the analysis is broken down into the news, but we'll probably start here with the financials and then also the chart. So from the financial perspective, they're at a $92 million market cap. This company has a lot of risk. They have pretty high fluctuations, and I wouldn't urge anybody to invest in this company because of that risk if you're not okay with that risk. Now, I see them more as an institutional attracting value company, and that's why we have long-term positions in them as well as trading the short term. They have about 238 employees, which is pretty on par for their market cap. Their financials look very disciplined and they look very healthy, and they actually indicate a lot of growth. So you can see annually they have been increasing their revenue. In the past 4 or 5 years, they've been growing their revenue and cutting down their net income to be close to positive. In this last quarter, they had an all-time high there, $14 million in revenue. You can see the blue is the revenue, so they got pretty consistent growth, and their net income was just negative, about 320K, so almost there, positive. Now, their revenue is up 21% year over year, and their net income is up 82% year over year, which indicates they're improving their profit margins there, about 85%. Now, when we get to the financials, the market cap again, 92 million. They're making on track 50 million this year, and total assets are at $43 million. So their market cap is just a little bit lower than their total assets plus their income for the year projection, which indicates they're still on the undervalued side. So total assets are up there, up over 500% here year over year, which is really good. And their liabilities have been cut down by 32% year over year, so they're really disciplined with their balance sheet. Now, those are the things we look at. Sometimes we could, I could stop here, look at the articles. Is there any news? I don't even see any news. Maybe a little bit of news. But for the most part, there's not news. There's not hype. There's not a bunch of videos on this stock. And that's why we kind of like it, because it's not manipulated right now. Now, the other thing that's interesting about CTM from a financial perspective, but I do want to get into the chart / news here, but just kind of from a perspective of the institutional holdings. If you look at a company like Rigetti, it's 38%. I think like Big Bear is probably around 50%. CTM doesn't have large institutional ownership yet. You can see their institutional ownership is only at about 7.5%, which indicates institutions have not noticed this company. So that's that institutional attracting value that we like to look for, that has led to our success, I believe, is finding companies that later on the banks will notice, or Wall Street will notice. And given their financials, I imagine they're going to be noticed here. Now, increased positions, the holders increased positions 23. So 23 new increased positions, and decreased positions at just 28, indicating more holders and more bullish sentiment there. Now, here's the interesting part. There's only $7 million being held by institutions right now. Vanguard is one of them. Okay, I don't really see State Street is maybe there for just 156,000 shares. So just around, a couple thousand. BlackRock's got 127,000. So we're talking just a couple $100,000 here and there on the company, and not seeing any notably large investments into them. So why is that? Well, it could be that they're not seeing the market value. It could also be because they just haven't seen what Castellum's doing or haven't noticed them. And so what we see here is they have a $100 million contract here that they signed for $103 million back in February. That's going to sustain their revenue. So we know that their financials are most likely going to continue to remain pretty steady, along with some other contracts they have there. And on top of that, they also are recently jumping into Agentic AI. So this is them leveraging their deep knowledge of software deployment, cybersecurity, with the U.S. government here. It says, we've developed world-class Agentic AI platform for information retrieval, KPI monitoring, and automation of actions. This enhances decision-making on all levels. We believe data analytics and information retrieval software fits well with the portfolio of products and solutions we're assembling in our newly formed advanced technology products subsidiary here, which is Quario. We look forward to working with KG and his team and help government customers glean more insight with a mountain of data which they receive in product every day. So they're kind of in the data area, and they partnered with this recent partnership with Quario, which is out of Berkeley, California. Now, when it comes to the news, it looks good. When you look at the financials, we're seeing pretty good levels. When we look at the chart, recently they've had some downward pressure. They're kind of selling off recently, and they are extending down to this 200-day moving average. And ideally, they hold this market cap. But without institutions jumping in yet, it would make sense in my eyes that we would see um, more of a probability that they would continue to build market cap than continue to sell down, personally. So that's why I have positions in CTM. I'm looking for them to potentially get into this $2 range here, or $1.50 range is really what we're looking for. This bounce, it's about a 40 to 50% upswing into this level. Now, that would put them at about a $150 million market cap. That's when they start to question very heavily, do they have new contracts coming in? Because they have that $100 million contract. They got some other smaller $1 million contracts, but are they going to continue to bring that in? So they're going to say that. Now, at that point, you got more investors. When they raise money or something, which they do raise money sometimes to bump up their balance sheet, they might, that might affect the stock more, or there's going to be higher risk. But as of now, I see it as a little more of a lower risk opportunity with a support at around 95 cents there, or that 200-day moving average, maybe as low as 95 cents, and looking for a target really to get up into about 120 to 147, which is about a 50% increase from here. Now, the value they're bringing to the marketplace seems to be reflective of that they would get into this level. If they're really growing and we see them get institutional buying, which means they start to get a little above the valuation, they get up to 300 million, or you see 400, 500 million, because BlackRock decides to size in, or Vanguard decides to size in, then we're looking at 100% increase to 200% increase back up in this $2 to $3 range. And that's really what we're watching. That's right now. RSI is looking indicating more of a buy. MACD is indicating more of a buy. But as I mentioned, because it's such a small company, from a market cap perspective, and even though there's not institutions really holding it, if there's a $5 million sell down from any company, this stock's dropping, about 6 or 7%. So just keep that in mind. There is caution. I would urge you to do your own due diligence. But these are the types of companies that oftentimes lead to us being able to find them before institutions. It's kind of similar with like Rigetti when we found it at $1, or when we were identifying Big Bear, well before it made that $10 run back in October when it was around $1. There's different opportunities, and I think CTM potentially, could fit into that defense category with some tailwinds, working in their favor here for the government contracts. So that's going to do it, guys. It's September 1st. So if you want to join us in our daily live trading, September 1st is the last day to get access to Stockmates. So if you want to join our daily live trading every day at market open, lifetime access is closing. After this, it will be a subscription, which if you're fine paying a subscription, then by all means you can wait. But if you want to lock in lifetime access to our daily trading sessions Monday through Friday, it's the second link below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And again, we revealed the Machine, which is our AI analysis platform we've been using extensively. If you want to get more details on that, it's the first link in the description. Smash that like button if I earned it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.